The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just getting annoyed by Chrome.
I gotcha. Well, I'm Barnzy, and as usual, I'm joined by the, how do we say it? Unimitable Stuart Williams. And we will have a guest on here shortly as he is collecting assets currently at a rapid pace. Closing on his house, coming back from the bank, but a new Titleist. And for those of you who are into everything bowling like we are, we did get a chance to watch the Queen's Show last night, or was it last night? 2 nights ago?
Tuesday night. And so good friend of the show, and we're a fan of Maria Rodriguez. Yeah, Maria.
Run.
We had the we tried to get the bowling center online on track. Unfortunately, there was a few fuddy-duddies in the bowling center who didn't want it on the masking units. You losers! It was position round. There was about 3 teams bowling for anything, and you still didn't want it on the masking units. You suck. Yes, I'm looking at some of you guys. You suck. But anyway, we had a good time. Maria's sister and her nieces came down. We had it on our big screen at the end, so it was kind of funny because you were halfway down the approach. And you were like, oh, shit, I bowled at the same time Maria bowls. As you let go, and just before you let go of it, there's like, So
it's pretty cool when the people in your center. I remember when I was rooming with Wolf, and he's pretty tied into everything Louisville and a big league bowler, and it was cool to come back, and they put a big banner up of Mike Wolf, the what was it, Greater Medford Open or whatever it was, and you know, they kind of celebrated. They replayed it during league. It was kind of a, you know, it's a cool thing when the guys are tied into their centers like that. That's just not something that happens everywhere. I guess it's a little like the guy from and the golf. The Tin Cup guy, basically, golf this weekend. Yeah. No, it was a good show. Lindsey Boomershine was clearly nervous at the start, but she managed to control her nerves and had a fantastic finish in the 10th frame to kind of force Maria to need a double. Mm-hmm. And what a way to win your first title, winning the biggest event in women's bowling. So shout out to Lindsey. I'm pretty sure that was a bad thing for the rest of the tour because Lindsey's main issue has been winning, not getting there. And I think once she got that monkey off her back, she's an extremely talented player. So I could imagine seeing her winning again this season for sure. Appreciate you guys piling in here. As usual, Patrick Dombrowski. Hey, it's going a strong 5.5. He said, how's it going? I said, it's a strong 5.5 right now. Adam's pitching in. Yeah. So he's here. Should we get going? Yeah. I think we should bring on a Wichita State alumni. He is he is the rags to riches story if there was one. Came into Wichita State as an athlete, but not really a lot of a bowler, and turned himself into one. Took him 3 years to make the varsity team, and has now parlayed that onto the national tour, and our most recent 2-time titleist and now 2-time homeowner, Packy Hanrahan.
A lot of twos. It only took me 1 year to make the varsity team, but it took me I I didn't travel my senior
3
year.
years to bowl.
Well, I didn't really bowl. I think my senior year, I bowled like 5 or 6 tournaments out of the 10 or 12 that we went to.
Really?
They just didn't recognize the talent. So Packy has given us about 40 minutes. So if you have a question that you desperately want answered, the only way to get that done is with a super chat. Yes, we went there. We will answer questions, but obviously, if you're desperate to get that question answered, that's the way to do it.
Super chat does get you to the top of the list.
Question. Serious question. Can you do anything to be more hated than being a left-handed, two-handed urethane thrower?
From the East Coast.
I think I got to start like maybe messing with my bowling balls, really making them illegal on purpose.
He had to get them trophies set up right. He wasn't just hanging on a house. We all know.
You know, it is what it is. Had to organize.
Chuck Ritchie says, how does it feel to get your buddy a title as well as getting number 2?
I think that probably feels just as good as getting your first one by yourself, as being able to get like one of your best friends one. Probably right up there next to it. And that's part of why I think I've always bowled well, like in team environments, doubles environments, just because like it wasn't all on me and I didn't have to think all about me, myself. It's a lot of like teamwork, and I've always played team sports. So I feel like it's always been easier for me to bowl better and just have a little more success and picking partners that are better than me throughout the years. That helps.
So where did it go wrong with Mitch?
We'll see. Mitch was better than me and probably still is everywhere. Just the PBA Tour is a little different monster. So
it's flipped in the last 3 years since you guys started bowling together a little bit.
Yeah. I was like, we bowled everywhere.
He could throw the purple hammer and you couldn't. That was part of that flip.
Yeah. Yeah. And we bowled everywhere together for years. And he always, outside the house shot, if it was on a pattern, he was one of the guys that I always thought was super cool, because he, like a lot of the guys, when you bowl doubles with them, they're like, oh, like, yeah, I'll bowl doubles with you. You're a two-handed lefty on the house shot. And then when I go bowl a sport tournament and there are doubles there, I'm going to go bowl with somebody else. And Mitch just bowled with me regardless of the tournament, which was nice. And I always...
Oh, you mean the way you treat Ryan? Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't bowl with him ever.
Just like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I always,
Actually, you only agree to bowl with Ryan. You don't actually bowl with him.
Yeah, I just say yes, and then I back out last second. But
buy another house or some other kind of lame excuse. I don't know.
It's cool to bowl with the same person all the time and build some sort of chemistry there.
Well, you guys being friends is cool. You have some similar backgrounds. Your personalities are more mellow as well, which is, and you guys do. You bowl good together at the Snowman on something that's crazy drastically different than the PBA Tour.
Whose favorite tournament?
It is, dude. Real quick, a super chat is over on YouTube.
Got to be on YouTube.
That option will not be available on Facebook.
They can't throw you stars on Facebook. That's a super chat. That's what that is.
Sounds like Belmo's swing tips helped.
It's funny because
it might have helped his YouTube.
We had this like hour-long video where Belmo gave me like a little bit of advice, told some stories, stuff like that. And you can find that on the House Bowling, by the way.
There you go.
But if you guys I'm sure you guys have done it a little bit, but if you're bowling okay during the middle of the season, you're probably not going to try and change your physical game. So I didn't. And a bunch of people are like, oh, that swing tip must help. Really, all of the some of the mental tips really helped, but the physical game tip, I really pushed it off to the side and was like, okay, once the season's over, once I'm done bowling for a bunch of money every single week, then I'll have some time. Yeah, if there's a regional here or a small tournament there, it's not as important for me to bowl amazing in those as it is for me to bowl my best and be super confident when I'm on, the PBA Tour. So it's, I kind of put the swing tip to the side a little bit, but it's definitely something I'm going to work on in these next couple months when I have off time, a lot of smaller tournaments, but nothing huge.
Just quickly going back to you winning the doubles.
Were you a little disappointed by the energy that Mitch brought when you when you struck and you went crazy and he just kind of was like,
I wish they had a camera facing him because he yelled at me as well.
But trust me, I was at the side. You brought the energy like you just won the NBA Finals.
That's because I felt like I did.
Mitch kind of looked like he just won the Eastern Conference semis.
And so here's the thing. He all week it was funny. They were like, we'd have an interview because we were leading. We'd have these interviews and Mitch would be like, yeah, it just kind of like feels like another doubles tournament. Just feels like one of the, and we probably bowled like between 40 and 80 doubles tournaments together over the course of the years because we've been bowling for like probably 7 or 8 years at this point where we've been bowling doubles together. And and I think it was nice that he said that because it made me feel way less pressure or anything like that. That comes with like leading a tournament, trying to close a deal, all that stuff. He always just told me, yeah, like it feels just like another doubles tournament. Like we're in Kansas City or Oklahoma City bowling like one of these doubles tournaments for like $1,000 or like, bowling really.
To be fair, you guys were scoring like it was just a house shot tournament in Kansas City. I'm not sure.
That's why we kept joking about it. I was like, feels like we're at North Rock Lanes on a Friday night.
Yeah, Mitch definitely made him look exactly more like a house shot.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing is like like Mitch was like people were like, oh, like man, nice bowling, Packy. And I'm like, you guys know, like if I also had the same attitude, or not the same attitude, if I had the same score as Mitch, we would also have been leading. Which is like I was in first by a lot, but he was also in eighth.
Yeah, so we've already done that with Bill.
Yeah, the O'Neill story where we call him 119 or something like that.
Yeah, it was. I think it was 109. He could have 109. Belmo could have bowled with the guy who was in 109th and still made the doubles cut. And Bill's like, yeah, I get that. I'm in third. I could have bowled with the guy in 80th. Yeah, but we're not in third.
Yeah, but he's in first, so it doesn't matter.
He's in first by miles.
We joked around a little bit at the beginning of the week because Mitch in the car on the way to the first squad that we already bowled the practice session. And on the way to the first squad, Mitch goes, man, I can't believe Nolan disrespected us like that. Because they put up like doubles teams to watch for B squad. And I was like, oh, like who is it? And he was like, it's all these, it was like, I think it was Tommy and AJ, which, yeah, I get it. Obviously, 2 really good bowlers. And then Bill and Belmo, Dom and Simo, and then Darren and Mikey. And I was like, and Mitch was like, why the hell are we not on there? But Darren and Mikey are on there. I was like, I don't know. We're just gonna have to prove them wrong here. And that's why like you saw that picture of us just like straight facing the camera when they took all the teams of like the B squad or whatever. I was like, nah, don't give him a smile.
Oh, I wouldn't have even given him a picture. You'd be like, you don't need a picture of us.
No comment.
Yeah, hey, we're not a team to watch. You don't need us. All right, here's like an interesting question. Hey, Oil, joining in the fun after missing a show or two. Well, welcome back. How does the secondary hand placement help for two-handed? Example: cradle, hands further apart, angle of hand placement. Do they affect anything?
I'd be curious if this guy's a two-hander, but if he is, it affects it a little bit for sure. I just do what's comfortable, and I don't try and mess around with it too much after that. But I know like some guys, when they hold it, they'll like interlock their fingers like Jesper does. I just kind of hold it. Honestly, I've been taught by one-handers, so I hold it like a one-hander, and then as I push it away, I like get into a comfortable
just
position.
Use it for balance. You don't move it around to try and create a different shape.
No, and I have seen people that do that. I just think it creates like an inconsistency for me. In like the amount of hit that I have, or like that's fair. I was also once a crappy two-hander.
I love we have the best fans. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but like
they're not really fans on this show. They're basically co-hosts because this is what we do.
And I feel like the if I change the angle or if I move it up or move it back, it just creates a little inconsistency for me. Like at the bottom where like I might miss hit one or over hit one or loft one that I didn't want to loft. It's like in my mind, I always view the second hand as like my thumb. If I told you guys, hey, Could you like take your thumb just a little bit out on this one? Like that probably wouldn't work so well. You'd be squeezing it and trying to make it happen at the bottom.
I do find the more I talk to two-handers, the way less complicated it is.
Yeah, like I've always been taught by a one-hander. I mean, not Rick. I was taught. Chris Forey taught me a bunch of things, and he was like, "Hey, I'm just going to try and teach you how to bowl a little bit." And then when I got to Wichita, Mark Lewis told me on our first lesson, he said, "Hey, I'm just going to let you know I've never really taught a one-hander before, so this is going to be a lot of trial and error. It's going to be a lot of."
You mean he hasn't taught a two-hander?
Yeah.
You just said he hadn't taught a one-hander.
Oh yeah,
Mark Lewis has taught a couple of one-handers,
a bunch of them. He hadn't taught a two-hander before, which he told me lesson one. It's going to be a lot of, hey, try this, and you give it an actual try for like a couple days, and if it doesn't work, come back into my office and we'll talk about it again, and we'll talk about something different to get you to the same spot we're trying to get you to. But a lot of it is the same as a one-hander's game. The timing might be a little different. Like you could push away a little later because your swing's so much shorter, but a lot of the times it's very similar.
Yeah, I'm sure going through with Ryan, I had made some assumptions from afar and then coached a little bit. And as we got to walk through the process, and it was fun doing it with an athlete because it doesn't take long to figure out what doesn't work.
A couple shots and you're like, okay, that doesn't look right.
Yeah, never mind. That's not right. But yeah, the further we dove in, the more I realized that there's a lot of very similar principles between the best one-handers and best two-handers. Now, there's some things that are obviously different, but those principles are also pretty similar among a lot of the two-handers.
Yeah.
And then there's, what Simo does versus Belmo does, which is what Troop does is, those are bigger. There's some key differences, but there are a lot of consistencies among what they do. And it's really not that hard to teach. It's hard to be athletic enough to do it.
Yeah, that's one of the larger things that I always, when I give lessons or when people ask me like, oh, like what do you think is the biggest key to being like, or how do you think I should switch over to being a two-handed bowler? And I'm like, well, do you play any other sports? If the answer is like yes, and you're pretty good at a lot of other sports, it'll be an easy conversion. If it's not, it's going to take you a lot of time and a lot of effort to like actually translate over and get the hand-eye and really just body coordination over to bowling two-handed, because it's a lot more than just swing the ball in a straight line. It's swing the ball and your body almost in a straight line.
John wants to know, Packy, is there any truth to the rumor that your career took off only after bowling doubles with a Hall of Fame Southwest bowler?
Is he talking about Nathan?
I think he's talking about Chris Barnes back in the day getting a couple lessons.
I don't know if he is or not, to be honest.
I don't know.
I mean, Packy's hauled himself out.
I did make a video with you of that weekend where I bowled horrendous, and you said, Packy, you should try and throw the purple hammer regardless of the pattern. And that's what happened. It was a house shot.
I do feel like
it was a house shot.
To be fair, as we are wont to say, we were well ahead of the curve on predicting your success.
I would agree. I was behind the curve.
We had you in the early round draft picks, when you were somewhat off the radar during the pandemic, and before you even had a urethane ball that was worth throwing.
Even when you were throwing the what was it called, the U-turn,
garbage, whatever it was,
the U-motion.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah,
or the tactical control.
Sure.
Yeah. I've got a feeling I know what the answer to this is going to be, but we'll go with it. Hey, Packy, I am also two-handed lefty. I use the blue tank. Any tips?
I would suggest that you drill a purple hammer. But if you want just a general urethane tip, it's definitely also throw the purple hammer. In reality, like if you do want a general urethane tip, you got to practice with it. I see so many people just expect to be as good with the urethane as they are with the reactive balls. Like, for example, like you have to, it is almost a like slightly different release with the urethane ball. A lot of people think they got to get around a urethane ball to hook it down lane. And that's in my mind, the opposite of what you want to do. Every time I like roll it too much, my ball hooks more. So I would say just practice with your urethane ball as much as you can to get used to what it does, and drill a purple hammer, because that one's a little better than the blue tank, I believe.
Seems like there's more success with it.
And surface is key, I will say. So even if you're going to throw the blue tank and not drill a purple hammer, put a bunch of surface on it. Like hit it with a 500 pad every time you practice with it and just see what that does. It'll make your ball hook more. It'll make it hook in the like appropriate part of the lane 90% of the time. So
I did come to Packy when we were bowling last weekend.
Made me steamy.
As a right-hander, I just find bowling with urethane so boring. It's so boring. Like even when I'm striking with it, it's still boring. Like I feel like it's just you're bowling in such a small part of the lane.
Well, and that's the difference. Like as a lefty, I feel like I'm always bowling in such a small part of the lane.
Yeah, but
and I think that might be why, like, I find
you can't really change your angle with urethane.
What?
You can't really change, like, even if you're bowling that same part of the lane, the ball kind of dictates what angle you're going to bowl.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is, and it is week to week. Like you see some weeks you have to throw it straight to the left and get it to bounce off the gutter every time, like Jacob does. And some weeks, like a Michael Martell bowls well, and he's throwing it up 5 and playing like very straight up the lane. And it's, for me, it's like, because I feel like I'm one of the not so many that have the skill set to do a little bit of both. For me, it's always like and I've talked about it and posted about it in the past. It's like putting the puzzle together of like, what's going to work this week and what do I have to do? Is it hooking it a little more? Is it hooking it and keeping my ball at like 10 down lane, like a tournament, like a Kokomo or like a Springfield, Missouri, where like you kind of had to keep even though urethane for the lefties were like a must, you had to keep your ball in right of 6, 7, 8 down lane. And then, or is it like a cheetah or the old cheetah where you got to just sling it to the left and watch it hook every time? But I will say, like this weekend, once you find out what works, you can't change the angle that week. Like that's the one that's going to strike. And then it's like tweaking your hand or your ball speed or making the small move with your feet to get it to not 7 pin, but to get it to strike, or to get it to trip the 6 instead of 6 pin.
I do also think that you don't really get even close to the same experience as we get on our side of the lane.
There's so much.
Because the lefties play it so much more similarly, like, and then on top of that, you have more rev rate than most of the lefties you're bowling against.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there's just way less of them.
Yeah.
So, like, when we're bowling with
this might be very accurate here. His brain works too fast for urethane.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like I say, to me, it just really isn't that much fun. It's certainly not fun to watch on TV. I can tell you that. Like, I speak to a lot of league bowlers, and they hate watching everybody throw urethane on TV. So
I will say it's not like I joke about a little bit, but it is very true. Like, because your ball is hooking so early and it's so slow down lane, you do get a lot less messengers, and they're not as cool. You might trip more 4 pins or 6 pins, but it's not the same like wow factor on TV. It is very like 90s, 80s bowling of like 5 into the 7 or like the 10 pin flops sideways at the last second. Like it is not quite exciting. I'm not sure what, like, if you said, hey, let's make some patterns that aren't urethane friendly, I'm not sure what other patterns you could use besides the Masters pattern this year.
Well, I think there's been some attempts, and
I would agree. And it's almost,
and because, and this is like Stu says it a lot, it's self-fulfilling, but when the best bowlers decide what they want to throw, they can make it look pretty good.
Regardless, yeah.
So if the scoring pace isn't really high, you know, if they're tight down lane at all, it's just an automatic, no matter what the front's like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we tend to be mean to you if we can, but here's a nice one. Linda comes in and says, thank you Packy for recruiting and helping Ryan. Untold story. He was on the recruit call and was one of our resources that we asked. Similar background. You were a basketball player.
Yeah, I was going to say
and an athlete that didn't have a lot of extensive youth accomplishments in bowling. Zero. And decided to make yourself into bowler. But she's glad he has a good influence around him. I think that's marginally accurate. Been watching work and do your thing, and sure there's more to come.
I will say that's one, like, it is cool to, like, one, to have you even ask me years ago to, like, hey, can you hop on the phone? Like, you do have a similar experience. For me, you didn't know this, but my highest accomplishment's like a second place scratch tournament at a JBT with 20 people, right? Like, I didn't have any, like, we won the high school league. I was the high average on my team with like 195. It's not like we were a superstar team or a superstar bowling community. So I knew going to Wichita, much like Ryan probably knew or thought would probably happen, is you get there, you try out for the team, and let's hope we make the developmental team. Like we're hoping that we make the JV team so we can practice at least with the coaches a couple times a week. And Ryan's got the personality enough and just the work ethic, much like myself. And I didn't know on the time of the phone call, but when he shows up here and he's practicing 4 hours a day, it's like having flashbacks of me going in the morning before class at 10 and then going back again at 6 o'clock at night when there's nobody there again, because I know I'm worse than everybody in the building. And the only way to get better is to beat them in practice hours and information soaked up.
And it was harder for you because you guys actually had class.
Yeah.
So now everything's
online. But like back then it was like I had to be at class.
Interesting question. If you weren't a PBA bowler, what career path would you be?
I'm interested to hear your guys' answer. I got my degree, and I've told this after I won my first title. I said, it was the PBA thing was hey, much like the Wichita thing was, hey, I know I'm not good enough, but maybe I will be one day. So I did the same thing. Show up, practice as much as you can, get helps from ball reps, other players that are at the top of the food chain, like Chris Prather, like all you guys, just asking them, hey, like, what do I have to do to be better? What do I need to work on? And it was a 2-year plan. And if it doesn't work, and if I don't show any promise after that 2 year, I was going to go and be a gym teacher, which is what I got a degree for in college. I even was subbing in the off season of bowling. And when I was back, for those like couple week breaks, I'd go and sub in the classroom a couple times because I wasn't making money, and I still loved like being in the schools and working with the kids.
All right. Quickly, Stu, we haven't answered this question in a while.
Well, I got a degree in accounting, but if I was doing it, I'd probably be a sales guy because I've got the gift of the gab, baby.
You are not lacking. I would have been, I would have probably tried to be a basketball coach. That was
so real quick. This question got asked to a professional soccer player in England, quite famous. He's like 6'7". He's not the prettiest guy. And they said, if you weren't a professional footballer, what would you be? And he looked them dead in the face and said, a virgin.
All right.
Best answer ever, Peter Crouch. Hey, Glenn, frequent contributor to the show. He said, good morning. Congrats, Packy, on the season. Packy, what are your go-to reactive balls? And do you ever throw any other urethane balls besides the Purple Hammer?
I had a short talk with Sean Ryan about this towards the end of the season. And I said, I think a part of the reason why Mike Wolf, not even Sean Ryan, Mike Wolf. And he said, because I mentioned, I was like, I really struggled at the beginning of the season. And I think it might be due to the fact that in the off season, I really try and throw reactive balls all the time. Like,
I have a different theory, but go ahead.
When we don't go and throw these, like all of the off season tournaments for the most part are decently easier, maybe not regionals, but like when we go to Kansas City or holiday doubles or all of these larger amateur tournaments, doubles, singles, all of them, they're usually on house shots or challenge patterns, which the scoring pace is like 230 or 240. So I tried to really work on my reactive ball game, and it got good. But right now, reactive balls, stealth. I'm excited about the stealth pearl coming out, I think in a month or two. And then it's a lot of smooth balls, stealth, purple hammer reactive, just because it's on the lower end, much like a IQ Tour would be. I throw the 3D offset attack, a top speed. But those are like my house shot balls that I league every week.
Orange. What's the really strong deviate ball? I've seen
the really strong Brunswick ball. It's a mindset.
No, the deviate one, the one that's like orange and red,
blue, green, and orange.
Green.
Oh, the brutal collision.
Brutal collision. I've seen.
Yeah, that ball's pretty good too. I wouldn't necessarily bring that to like a house shot because it's so strong.
Mm-hmm.
It's too smooth.
Like if we're going to like the regional this weekend, I brought it just in case because I knew nothing about the house, so it's not like I'm going to bring 8 urethane balls and just say here we are, which I should start doing. But
Greeny says I'm going to get some 500 for my blue tank. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that'll be huge, and maybe 500 is too much. Maybe it's not enough. I would mess around with it.
Floating
lasagna creature.
All right,
an interesting name.
What that looks like in my head.
He said, has being a content creator impacted your pro career at all?
I think it really helped at first. Before I ever started like making any money doing it, it helped because I would edit all the videos and I'd have to go back and look at all the mistakes or all the things that I did right every tournament. So it was almost like watching, if you're
watching tape, like your basketball.
It's like watching film. Like you go and you say, like game 3, I definitely should not have been throwing that ball. That's why I shot 180. Or wow, I was clearly in the wrong part of the lane. Or wow, like you started off this tournament pretty good because you were just a little, like you stayed down on most of your shots the first game. Like that's stuff like that you just picked up on. So I think it's helped. And then obviously once you start making a little bit of money, it alleviates some of the bills that come with being a pro bowler, paying $500 a tournament and traveling all over the country for the first 4 months is tough.
Now you're entering tournament, you're just entering the season at a time now, right? Just
you just
got a slumlord, you got multiple houses, you got degenerate renters.
Yeah. Something like that.
Rick, well, he's on board. Yeah, I disagree. I haven't seen Urethane since I watched Korea Bowl.
He must not be watching.
He hasn't watched any professional bowling then.
No, he's talking about in 2010 was the last time he saw urethane balls be urethane.
There we go.
That's what it means. Very inexperienced bowling on sport. Tuesday bowled Boardwalk version 2 and got my handed to me. No consistency, missing spares by. Does a shot like that change the way I target a straight ball?
It can do on short patterns. You also need to rethink about missing a spare by a millimeter because you never miss a spare by a millimeter.
It would wiggle if you missed it by a millimeter.
Well, if you missed it by a millimeter, it's impossible because the ball is this big. So you've got both sides of the ball to hit it with. The pin is this big. So you've got both sides of the pin to hit it this big. So if you think about it, when you miss by about 6 boards. It's like missing a single pin is an absolutely gigantic miss. And once I thought that through, somebody explained it to me, an old boy, it really actually helped me shoot spares, like single pins specifically, because you don't have to be accurate in any way to hit a single pin.
You gotta be close.
And like when you throw it,
it's an interesting way to think about it. That you have 6 boards, not a 10 or a 7, obviously, but everything else you have literally 6 boards to hit.
Yeah,
down lane.
And like even with the 10 pin, you still have like quite a bit. You just have 4. You just don't have the full side to the right or to the left, depending on which one it is. Like you have an enormous amount. So start to think about single pins as being like, if I throw a decent shot, I'm going to spare it. I didn't spare it. I threw an horrific shot.
And if you're bowling on short patterns all the time, definitely think about getting a spare ball if you don't have one.
Yeah. But in relation to short patterns, going at it, if you're throwing across the lane, try to move everything a little further right, and instead of targeting like 20 or 25 like some people do to shoot at the 10 pin, try 15, because there's so much more oil there and you don't have to go across the short part of the pattern. I find on shorter patterns that if you can be a little bit closer to your work, so to speak, it's a little bit easier. It's a little more consistent. It's the same on wood as well for me. Like if I'm going way across the lane on wood, it's so easy for it to check early and then be, to use our favorite phrase, offline, but that's genuinely is offline. So if you're a little bit further right, generally there's a little more push and you don't have to go quite as much across the short part of the pattern. So that would be my tip.
All right.
Give you an off the wall tip and throw a backup ball at him on short patterns.
Ooh, yeah, that's just another thing that I can't control.
Do I get to choose which in the house?
Do you get to choose which bunk bed?
Prather definitely still outranks me, so no. It is interesting though, because we, like, with so many guys, I think most of the tournaments we had 6 this year, and it is a little more difficult. We got to do a better job actually booking houses ahead of time.
The house is fractured.
Yeah, it's broken into like 4 different pieces now. Yeah. Too many people.
Chuck Ritchie Stu, as a salesman, you gonna buy this shit or not? If not, then book off. Then
that sounds about right.
There are 2 answers, Chris. You know it. There are 2 answers. There are only 2 answers in life: yes or no. Everything else, complete waste of time.
1s and 0s.
I'll get back to you. No,
that just means no. Just stop being a pussy.
Rick says, "Have you always been a 2-hander?" And that's interesting. I don't think I ever asked you this.
I would say yes. Like, I mean, when I joined my high school bowling team, I think in the tryout process, I averaged like 105 just throwing a straight ball down the middle, with like a 10-pound house ball. So yes, kind of like within those first like 3 or 2 months of me like starting bowling, yeah, I tried 2 fingers for a while, like the Tom Doherty style, and then I just switched. The captain of my high school bowling team threw a 2-handed, so I asked him for some tips. I said, "Hey, you average 170. That's more than everybody else. Can you help me?"
If members of the house win titles, do they move out?
You get ostracized.
Prather stuck around with us through all of his, so it's amazing.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna have to have a second. You have the big house and the outhouse.
We had a house. The very last house we had during the doubles tournament had a garage apartment, so we could have stuck.
You're like 0 titles. You guys are there.
They're collecting them too fast now.
That's probably fair. What do you all use on Chameleon? Well, Packy used Purple Hammer.
Come on, Purple Slammer.
Chuck Gardner, congrats on an amazing season, Packy. Very cool to see your hard work pay off. So that was nice.
Thanks, Chuck.
Chuck on the truck. Sorry, Chris.
You all right? Alan Ryan wants to the most important question of all. How distracting is Fabio Hupe's hair during competition? He makes fun of me being bald all the time, so just curious how the other side is.
No, it's not distracting at all. I think maybe he tries to distract the opponents with it, flicking it back every once in a while over his shoulders. But yeah, given at the hairdryer, you just see him the hairdryer. I think it's a hand dryer, but it might as well be a hairdryer for him.
I think Mitch needs to get the goatee and lean into the Jesus look.
Really lean into it, get a goatee and change his chamois out to one of those seesaws.
Well, no, I just mean genuinely look like Jesus. I remember there was one guy, he used to bowl. I can't remember which country he was from, but we were in the Dominican Republic, right? And he always was with Arturo, and
doesn't surprise me at all.
And anyway, he had the full on Jesus look. He had the goatee, he had his hair back a little bit, he had long hair, and he kept going up to every girl in the club and going, "Bless you, my child."
That's before it was a little longer, but
I love the fact that this is in Chris's favorites.
I wasn't even saying that. I'm sure he like holds that hostage and just sends it to Mitch every year on his birthday.
I have a few of them. We have a few guys like that. There's a good one to Simo. He looks like the original Jumanji. Those of you have to be of a certain age to have ever seen that one, but yeah. And then
Packy,
and then Brad looks like Tommy Pickles.
So Matt,
Hubbard.
The bowler we're recommending a little bit is the Absolute. That seems to be doing quite well, especially for people who are a little not massive speed. I think Linda and Tina both really like that one from the reports I've seen so far. Tina specifically. So,
which one?
I like that ball.
What's that? Which ball did you say?
Absolute.
Yeah. Linda's hooks tons. She likes them a lot.
Like it's really continuous.
Yeah.
Adam asks, if you were on Storm, would you throw the pitch black? Well, yeah.
That's a urethane ball. I'd throw whatever urethane ball, whatever company has, as much as possible.
Somebody just says, Jim says, is there a difference between old Purple Hammers made in 2019 to the ones produced now?
Obviously there is, but I don't know. I feel like every time we release a new one, I feel like I have more success than the previous year. So I don't think the difference is big enough for any of you guys to notice. Maybe for us to notice, or if you choose to not hit it with surface, like I think the newer ones, if anything, you should hit with more surface, but then they become pretty similar.
Underrated how much surface is used on urethane.
It's crazy. If you watch the beginning of a squad when their pattern is short, or if people are deciding to throw urethanes, if you watch a squad, you will see every ball rep hitting almost everybody's urethane ball with 500 or lower.
And the lanes hook in the front almost every week. And that's the main argument against more surface. Well, the guys will just use more surface. They can't.
Yeah. They'll have to use less.
Yeah.
They use it to control the back end, not the front.
Yeah. And that's where
today's bowlers, the rev rates are high enough, the speeds are high enough for a lot of players. Not necessarily. You are a little on the softer
and that's where
side of it. But
I usually use less surface than most because of that.
Right.
Which also gets me in trouble. Like heavy ball roll plus a slower ball speed means I use less surface, even though sometimes I need to, just because the fronts hook so much. And I unfortunately,
in a weird sort of way, I'm in some of the same boat on the regular tour that way.
Oh yeah,
it's Brunswick Packy. We're thinking of giving you your own signature ball.
That'll be your
also
thing.
Packy. Can it be a Purple Hammer? And their response is, no, that one sells by itself. We don't need any help.
Yeah, we don't need your name on that one.
Oh,
how many purples did you drill this season?
I think this is a slightly unfair question because we came out with brand new purple hammers to start the season. So I started off drilling 2, and then I only drilled 2 or 3 more.
So that makes it unfair.
Yeah. Well, it would have been just 3, but since I didn't have any to start the season, it ended up being 5.
Versus we have some of these guys that actually drilled 5 literally the last 2 weeks.
Every week.
Which doesn't actually make sense when they get softer as they go, to me.
And that was the crazy thing. So the study says they get softer as they go, but every time, and maybe it was me just finding the right layouts to use. But every time I drilled a new one, it was maybe I'll throw it. It'll probably look bad. And then I would just use it the whole time because it would look a little bit better. And I think that was me just drilling them stronger than I had in the past and finding the right layouts to make sure that they actually hook every time or never hook.
Yeah. Somebody's asking this. They have to be just laughing. Packy, do you like the double cross more than the perps, or about the same?
I'd say it's about the same.
The same as what? That U motion?
No, the double cross, because the double cross the U motion was made to be
Don't defend that ball.
Yeah, it was made to try and be a purple hammer.
Yeah, of course it was.
the double cross was made to be a little weaker, I believe, and a little more like keep it a little more in front of you. But
I believe it's asymmetrical core.
No,
it's not? I thought it was.
No, that one was the Black Widow urethane was the asymmetrical one.
By the way, all companies are guilty of it. Worst idea ever.
Asymmetrical urethane?
Yeah, worst idea ever. There's never been a good one.
Brandon Bone loves his pink hammer. I've seen guys throw the pink hammer recently.
Yeah. I think there's guys that use it. I just don't think it's better.
I think there's a place too for it. It's pretty much straight. The right layouts, I use like a 55 by 4 by 50 or by 20. It depends how tall you want the pin. I have some short ones and I have some tall pins. But those two first numbers, and then drill 2 of them with a low pin and then one with a high pin. So that's what I did. The low pin doesn't really hook. The high pin hooks a bunch.
Brandon Bone is built different though. Yeah, but he's also most of his success is bowling against kids. So
he's getting a little of the grown-up experience at the PabCons, and which is still lightweight competition comparatively, and Christian and those guys are beating them up pretty good right now. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean that once he bowls against more people using urethane on his side of the lane, asymmetrical urethane just isn't the deal because he's throwing it so hard. There is no chance that can work bowling when everybody's throwing urethane on his side of the lane.
And I feel like that might have been what happened with like that infinite physics. I got like one more question before I got to go, but that might've been what happened with the infinite physics, like the, where there's so much urethane, it looks good everywhere else. And then you bring it to the tour where everyone throws urethane pretty much every tournament, at least for a game or two.
And it looks
maybe with the exception, we had 15 tournaments this year, maybe with the exception of 3 or 4. And then it just doesn't look quite as good as it did when you're bowling an amateur tournament. There's always hook down lane.
Yeah. No, 100%.
To be fair, because I came back home. I finally stopped trying them out there. Came back home.
Look just as good.
$1,000,000 again. I mean, I went 8,
isn't that crazy?
770 the first 2 sets I bowled in a little city tournament thing. And I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I know I'm a house toe now, but that's a little above my average on the house shop. And basically just that. It's just I use that. I use an absolute for like 1 game.
Okay, there's one more question about to come through, and then you can get out of here.
All right.
What pitches do you use?
Oh, I just gave a lesson, and a guy had 0 pitch front to back, which I think is a massive problem for two-handers. I was always told, and I started out this way as well, that I use a half left, half right. It's probably a little too much on one of my fingers. But I was always told for two-handers, you start off with a half reverse, and then you can tweak it from there. Just because the way that your hand sits so far underneath the ball, you don't want it like hanging up on your hand when you go to release it. You don't have to have your fingers in the ball like this to get a rev rate as a two-hander. You can kind of relax them a little bit. So I use 3/4 reverse in both my fingers.
Okay.
Left, half right, 3/4 reverse.
All right. Well, congratulations on a nice season. Keep up the good work on the house bowling. If you want to check Packy out, check that out. No doubt you've already seen it because YouTube's pretty good at sending
bowling things to bowlers
stuff into your timeline, and Packy's got a lot of subscribers. So
it's very entertaining. He needs to go ahead.
I try and just spread the love. I love bowling and I have a lot of fun doing it. And I just
teaching my kid how to make money doing that too. So
trying a little bit.
You can relieve some of his financial stresses, and by his I mean mine.
You mean yours? Yeah. There you go. Hey, Dad, I don't need you to pay for tournaments anymore. What do you mean? All right, sounds good.
Said Ryan, never.
yeah, never.
I'll just. Chris is going to turn up. Why do you have a PS4, the latest Xbox? PS5, the latest Xbox, and a new gaming laptop?
I needed it for YouTube.
Didn't have to pay any entries, so I'm good.
I get on there. I just like to have a lot of fun, mess around. I just try and bring more eyes to the bowling world, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So
you are definitely what I think is a key to popularity in general. You're authentic. Yeah, you are who you are, and people gravitate to you. I think you're a good dude, and people see that.
So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, see you later.
Hey, thanks for big timing us. We'll see you later.
I got to go film a Big Four video with Mitch. He's going to shoot 48 of them. How many do you guys think he's going to make?
Where is it?
At North Rock. At North Rock.
If he makes any less,
I made one there actually. So
if he makes any less than 15, it'll be embarrassing.
15. No. Come on now.
48 lanes. 5.
Okay, I think it's a fair number. I'm saying he goes 3. I'll text you guys the answer. Don't tell me.
It's an aggressive 5. Most places it would be 1,
maybe 0.
Most. Yeah, the over-under is 1.
Call me. I'll come and do the video. If he has any less than 6, like that's not even a challenge.
Oh yeah, he shot the 710 and he made 7 of them. So
yeah, that was pathetic too. Oscar would have prime Oscar would have probably made about 20.
Real quick before I go, I actually asked Oscar about it, and he says he doesn't think he'd make as many because he thinks he throws it too hard, so they'd bounce too far forward. Because North Rock,
he always said that.
North Rock is known to bounce. So
yeah, I mean,
anyways, appreciate you guys for having me.
See you later.
Thanks.
Gotta go film.
Congrats to Madison on good queens too. So
I will.
Talk to you later.
Sure. Thank you guys. Bye.
Well, there we go. So, what did we learn from that? Not very much.
Well, we learned some pitches, a little bit of his story, the fact that Mitch indeed has glorious hair, and
I'm bowling on GSX machines.
Yeah, you're not making. Some of them are starting to the curtains are starting to get torn in some places. I actually saw one bounce out at ITRC a few weeks ago, which it never used to happen.
But Northrock's almost like the Weber Cup lane when they just took the curtain away and put it on a perspex sheet. It's ridiculous. The pins absolutely fly out there. I don't find the Big Four. I've made the Big Four way more times than I've made the 710.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I've probably made the Big Four 25 times.
I made the 710 last weekend, first time in a while at Plano, over in the rec side. Match play record against Brandon's 1-0. It was only the one game he stopped throwing the Pink Widow and tried something else. Doesn't really count. And you looked up to him. Yeah, Brandon's the real deal.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. I just don't think you can
like a lot of those guys, he's a man amongst boys. And he proved early on already that he wasn't, he made the Masters cut, bowled well, lost a brutal match to Kyle. Could have, he wasn't that far from making run at the show. I think but like everyone else, he'll make adjustments. And as he makes adjustments, then there'll be new lane philosophies and he'll make more adjustments. But he thinks way more like Doug Kent than a traditional, say, left-hander does. And so I don't think adjusting to his environment is going to be his issues. So
no, the 710 isn't actually like for most people spare the 710 more than they'd spare, say, the 4.6.
Yeah, the 4.6 is probably the hardest one. You need the actual extra pin to help get the 4 or the 6
to bounce
high enough up into the curtain to bounce out most of the time. But the 4.6s. I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe made it once ever.
Yeah, the 4.6 is
The place in El Paso. I did make the 710, the Big Four, and shot 300 all in the same tournament in El Paso. An unofficial record that I claim.
The year that Dom beat me in Qatar, he made the 810 to make it in one round. Hindsight, I wasn't so happy he made it.
Yeah. Hey, mate, good job. Oh,
fuck off. Preach.
Yeah. Made it more left-handed than I have right-handed. So
I made it in Kokomo this year, according to the stats, but that was because the machine picked it up and put it back down where it felt like, and it almost looked like the washout. It moved it so far across and opened the 2 pins up. So I just threw it straight, hit the side of the 2 pin. It went straight to the 10, and the ball clobbered the 8. The 8.
The 8, yeah. This is an unfair question that he couldn't really answer, honestly. So But if he and Wesley Lowe switch ball companies, would Packy be successful? Probably not. Is a guess, but all it is a guess.
I don't know.
But
so, all right, let's do a quick rapid fire. If you've got any ball questions, ask us. We will endeavor to get through those, and we'll do that for like 10 minutes, and then we'll get going. Thanks for showing out today. Like I said,
I appreciate it. Both for Houston back when you're Wichita, picture of your host. Yeah, there's some laying around here somewhere. I had full mullet going on back then. So,
okay.
Random question because I hate shiny or dull absolute.
Shiny.
Mine has 1,000 on it. I use it as a little stronger ball.
Yeah,
but I think it rolls good both ways. Does it make a difference trying to make the 710 with plastic versus urethane with trying to get the pins bounce? Yeah, I think you want the ball to skid as much as possible so it doesn't slow down. Unless you're Oscu and you can make it hovercraft the whole way down the lane. Generally speaking, faster is better.
I have no idea about the summit. We haven't got the video balls yet. I'm not 100% sure what's going on.
I believe something shows. I think I have stuff showing up on Friday, but it might be shipping Friday.
Oh, okay. I don't. So,
no, you do. Because I have other balls showing up tomorrow, but I think Megan said they're shipping Friday.
Oh, you already asked about it.
Yeah, because I asked about adding one for Boy Wonder, but it'll be next week, I think, before those show up.
Okay. So, all right. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, I was a bit like I figured that it was going to be by the end of the week, but I wasn't too worried about it. So I think that my God, that's a really low RG. So we will see. I haven't seen one that low on the Storm side forever.
Yeah, that's up against the number.
So
and it's big on the other side. It's 056, 246, 056. Picking up a DNA, ball adjacent or ball up from Exotic Gem. If they're both shiny, my opinion is it's a ball down from Exotic Gem. But it's a good question. I haven't seen them up against each other.
I just think I think the Exotic Gem possibly, if it was dull, hooks more than almost every ball we have.
It hooks a lot.
Like, to me, the Exotic Gem is almost unusable for me because it's so responsive in a spot of the lane that's too close to me to be responsive that I just can never use it.
Yeah.
So if I was needing to use an Exotic Gem, it would probably be at 500, and it would just be the ball that was the strongest ball. And to be honest, that's probably the way I should use it because I don't get a lot out of the gem.
Exotic might be a better ball in that spot for you then.
The only issue is it might be still be a little too responsive even with 500 on it. Supernova discontinued, a good replacement. I would lean towards the Reality. I like the Reality a lot. I think the Reality is the best of the strong balls on the Storm side. The Storm umbrella.
Yeah. I lean towards the Gem, ironically enough.
Yeah.
but yeah, I think those two are the best of the big balls for sure.
About 1,000. But I've used them shiny also. Real quick, Supercrat. Whoa. Great show. I have a phase 3 only usable ball, medium ball speed and no hand. Suggestions for another ball. Ooh. The phase 3 was a pretty nichey ball. It was a hybrid phase. To me, it got really forward really quickly.
For a ball that was cleaner, it also got more forward than the 2 or the 4. So
I actually think if you like that shape, that an Exotic Gem actually might be a decent
Stronger ball than that.
A stronger ball than that, but with somewhat of a similar.
The Revenant, maybe a ball down from that.
Yeah. I mean, an Absolute would be another one that would be useful to me. If you're liking that and you've got medium speed and low and less hand, I would lean towards some of the like a cleaner cover. I mean, I'm suggesting the Exotic just because that's going to be the definite ball up, but Absolute's an option. Like Chris is saying, the Revenant's another option. Another option that you might consider as well is the IQ Ruby. So that's a couple of options. But if you had the IQ Ruby, I would drill it stronger than your Phase 3 because the Phase 3 has a
flares on
more flare.
Yeah, about 80% more.
So
finger pitches, I am a half away, and then quarter half, left and right.
Yeah, I use 3/8 and 3/8 laterals, and I use 7/8 away on my middle finger and 3/4 on my ring finger. But my fingers are mopped, like they just don't bend.
Opinion on Reactive scuff?
Not heard of it.
Don't use it. Don't know.
I think he's talking about the. I think Japan Fair is actually just finished yesterday. Me and Chris didn't go. The Japan Fair type thing is still a little odd for global. I think, right? I think that global's still separate from high speed.
Yeah, both in Japan and Korea. Korea, it's more closely tied, but in Japan, it's different distributors. So, yeah.
Yeah, might be an option. I'm not sure.
With, they got their New Mexico tournament coming up. It might be a chance to pop that too. So, what current ball is? Whoops, sorry.
What current ball is close to UC2? The Absolute.
Yeah, if it's shiny, it's probably closest right now.
Using the X1 into dark code, need a ball down off the dark code. Night Road might be an option there. Same cover. I guess it's been discontinued. So in that case, depends how old your dark code is. Like technically, if you had a new dark code and a new Fate, the Fate should be a little bit below the dark code, but I think that you'll end up seeing the Fate actually hook more. So Revenant would be another option there.
Am I the only one that thinks Storm should come up with a Storm banned or Storm illegal? The ban, I don't know. Poke the bear.
Yeah, worked out well last time.
Yeah, not really. Misread the room a touch. Sherlock from 2017. Not sure if I had a reality or gem to the bag as a ball up for a tournament bag, not a house shot bag.
I think if you want a ball up, you're probably the gem because the Sherlock was and is pretty strong. I use the Sherlock actually as my ball with a bit more surface above the reality. Yeah.
That's how big that is. All right.
For me, the Sherlock was the best of the strong balls that we've had since the Sherlock and the Hypercell. If I could still get those, I'd still rather throw those. They just always it felt like when the lanes were really tight, those balls felt like they attached to the lane better, if that makes any sense. I also found that the Hypercell was like the most versatile ball of all time. I've used it on short patterns and on super long patterns and been really successful with both. I haven't really got another ball like that. where I've been super successful on short and long patterns.
Thoughts on the duo?
It's to me, it's very similar to the exotic shape wise. It just looks like a symmetrical exotic to me.
Yeah.
Kind of shows how strong that cover is.
Yeah, the cover is pretty strong for a medium core. So find out the best way to use it, kind of where to fit it in. Next time I'll get a signature ball called the no comment. It's funny.
Thoughts on the O'Keefe sleeve in McKendree? I don't really have one.
I don't know all the background. It sounds like they got offered a great deal, a little bigger. I mean, it's Division I school that they're going to versus Division III, I believe. So funding is better, facilities. I don't know enough of the background to know one way or the other, but Brian's a smart dude, and I know that they're not doing anything without it being best for a good fit and the right thing to go. So I hope McKendree's able to find a coach, and so that program continues to thrive to some degree. But that's a tough replace. DNA Phase 2, Absolute, Revenant, Hustle Wine. Any gaps I should fill or replace? 17 miles per hour, 350 reps. Is that 17 off your hand, or is that 17 on the monitor?
I think that's a pretty good one. I mean, maybe you could consider, depending on how many tournaments you bowl, you might consider a pitch black. But if you do, drill it really strong, like a 3.5 inch pin. But yeah, I think that's a good option. I don't know that most people are going to find a use for a ball stronger than a DNA, but if you find that like the DNA is, a couple of times you use it, that you don't, it's 17 on the monitor, so probably a bit
more. 19 and a half or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might also consider a Zen as another strong symmetrical piece off your Phase 2. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Jam, Zen, pitch black are things you could consider. I'm not saying that you do necessarily have a gap, but they would be ones I would consider. This is good. After the code black and the dark code, they need to come out with the cheat code. That's a little more subtle than Allen's.
Yeah.
So
the Chiefs are going to Jackson State,
which is in Alabama.
Yeah, for football fans, that's where Deion Sanders was the head coach until recently. So well, we're an hour and 8 in, so we'll be back at you next week. I believe Tuesdays are open. The Memorial Day, there will be plenty of amateur action going around the world. So we will catch you up on what we hear about, and maybe you can catch us up on what you've heard about. And until then, so anything else?
Nope, don't think so. Got to. Shout out to Turbo. I'm loving all of the new innovation they've got at the minute. I made some molds at home, and Turbo now sell and provided me with some of the actual urethane material, not quick plug, not any of the rest of it, actual urethane. So the slug came out. Very cool. Very cool. Liked it. Got to play with it a little bit. Feels almost as if I'd just taken off the press. Like drilling it. So, there you go. I didn't think it was Jackson State. It's Jacksonville State.
Okay, my mistake.
Yeah. So
I've heard a lot of the McKendree women are in the portal now. So,
yes. Well, it's actually
the coach. They have a team.
The portal has become very busy because Sydney Brummett also switched from
Mount Mercy. Was that what it was?
Yeah, I believe so.
And she's gone down to Kegel.
That's another good program that had some success this year. Had some players.
So yes.
All right.
Yeah. It's you can actually now buy they just quickly. Yeah. So if you have a mold, like me and Chris both use a mold.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, when you were making them at home or in the pro shop or whatever, you would make them out of like a quick plug type material. Like Vice had a material that was really good for the what was it called? The 45, whatever the hybrid.
The CS hybrid material was pretty good.
Yeah, that was, and now Turbo have an equivalent product to that. They bought out the guy in the Northeast, I forget. But anyway, they bought his version of the same deal, 45-minute quick plug.
That Lascaux, maybe?
Yeah, Lascaux, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd been using that, but just recently they have now a product where you can get the actual urethane mix that they use at the plant or as close to. And it's the same deal, 2-part, mix it, add color and everything. Well, I got that to play with. And the thing that I really noticed when I used it, it went off a little bit slower. So it didn't grab the mold as much. So the hole was a little bit truer to size. I don't know if you've noticed that, but for me, when I have them made at the plant, same deal for you. You have Vice mixer. They come out a little bigger. When I make them with the quick plug, they seem to come out a little tighter. And I think it's because the materials go off a little fast and it grabs the mold. And because the molds are kind of pliable, you end up with the hole being a little smaller because it's like squeezed the mold because it goes off so fast.
Yeah.
With this urethane material that I got, it didn't do that. So it was a lot more true to size. So it's a little less brittle as well. So it should last a little longer. So anyway, for the geeks out there, it was kind of cool. That's why I mentioned it at the end of the show, not the whole show, because
fair enough.
97% of the people listening don't know what I'm talking about.
Maybe we'll talk about nationals. We head there next week. Actually, next Wednesday we head out. So we can talk on that a little bit. If you need jerseys for nationals, summer team next year, go to coolwick.com. Use Beef Stew 10 or Barnzy 10.
Oh, you actually have a code now.
I got a code. So
there we go.
But you can use either one. And and as usual, you can check out beefandbarnzy.com to buy t-shirts and jerseys. So join us on Tuesday as we update everything else. And between now and then, please support the sponsors that support us. Storm, Rotogrip, Niagara Global, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Forward. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you later, guys.